you're free to go.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone to the July 14th Complete Count Committee meeting. Appreciate everybody being here via the web today. So just really quickly, at least as of when I checked earlier today, our current response rate is at 79.1. Homer's shaking his head, so I got that right. Excellent. I know how to use the web. So we can go right into report outs. So last time, Eric had mentioned doing the school flyers with the box lunches, which could be done. And he was looking for handouts. And I think he also mentioned a public service announcement from Dr. Hoadley. Eric, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll jump in and talk about what we're working on our end. So in working on the flyers with summer lunches further, we realized that that wasn't a possibility. We are under federal mandates of what we can and cannot do with those meal distributions. And so we are working with the Dublin Arts Council, because I know they've been doing bags, to see if that's a possibility on their end. If we could work on with them in conjunction with their bags to see if that's a possibility. So that's where we are on that front. When it comes to the PSA from Dr. Hoadley, we actually shot that last week. He and I both found some time in the office together to get that video recorded. It's actually being uploaded to YouTube this afternoon, and then we're going to schedule it out on all of our social media channels here probably in the next day or so, and kind of keep a regular cadence of every couple weeks. Just get that out there. It was a 30-second or so hit on fill out the 2020 census numbers effectively for public education. So that was kind of the angle we took with it. And it's easy to fill out. Here's some places you can check out for to get information on how to fill out the census. So like I said, it's a quick 30-second or so video, and we should be getting that here, getting it out on our social media channels here in the next day or so. I think you're muted.
I am. Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate that. I will shoot Doc a note and let him know that how much we appreciate his help. So thanks, Eric.
For sure.
So the next update is seniors. And I know Kim's not here, but Christine, did you want to, we talked a little bit about boxed lunch Wednesdays. I don't know why that was so difficult to say. That you wanted to do that in the next few weeks.
Yes, that was done and distributed.
Oh, great. Okay.
That got out to households who attend. I also had on my homework list, I think it was via email, to check in with some independent assisted living and nursing homes. And I contacted 4 of them yesterday, and I stumped all of them with the question on, how will we handle census at congregate living sites? Those with independent and assisted living said they had done promotions internally, but they couldn't seem to answer the question about nursing home or memory care residents. So I was hoping we could call on Mark to enlighten us as to how that happens.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
So nursing home facilities are handled by our group quarters operation. It's a separate operation apart from the regular household operation, which independent living would be a part of. They would be independent living would be enumerated the same way any household would be, but nursing home facilities are enumerated by our group quarters operation, and they have multiple ways that they can count those facilities. They are contacted by our area census office headquarters and given an option to do electronic enumeration or e-response, that's what we call it, where they can just give us a file and download it to a secure database and update the information that way, or they can do a drop-off response type operation where we would drop off questionnaires and they would be responsible for the information and we would pick them back up, or another option of allowing us to to the facility and enumerate each resident. So there's a couple different offerings. Most of the group quarter operation home facilities elect the e-response option, which is the easiest for them and for us.
Thank you for that explanation. My sense from those I spoke with yesterday that they just weren't aware. So if I can help you or your group core coordinator at all our facilities, I'm more than happy to do that.
If you could send me, so they have already been contacted. They're in the process of doing that now. They should have been contacted. They not necessarily should have been enumerated, but they should have been contacted. So if you could send me an email with the name of the facility and an address and a telephone number, I can make sure that our operations people follow up.
I will do that. And where, just out of curiosity, how is a resident of let's say a memory care facility counted? It's permanent residents?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
How is a person in, let's say, a memory care facility, how are they counted? Are they counted as a resident of that facility, even though they may still own their own home? It's where they physically reside, correct?
Yes, it's where they usually live and sleep on April 1st. So that they are a permanent resident of that facility, they are counted at that facility.
Thank you for the clarification. I will send you the contacts.
No, thank you for the question.
Excellent. Thanks, Christine. I think that you had mentioned that faith communities were starting in-person services again, and that you were going to provide some information to them so that they could get those out. Were you able to do that as well?
I did. I was able to share the print-on-demand links to all of our faith communities. I also shared the print-on-demand links to our friends in Hilliard City Schools who are able to distribute information to their lunch distribution, because it's being done through Sun Ministries, a nonprofit organization.
Gotcha.
Everything has been distributed electronically to all those we could reach.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christine. Really appreciate it. I don't think that Jenny's on the call because I was going to ask her for a chamber update, but we can save that for our next meeting. So we talked through a few things that Mark had sent us last time, and I know he's got a presentation for this time. So Ben, I think you did get on the call. Do you have any updates on our international folks, or are we still kind of steady as we go there?
No updates, still just plugging at it as we have been.
Great, thank you for that. I appreciate it. So Mark, I'm going to kind of turn this over to you and to Homer to do your presentation.
Okay.
It should be up now.
Yes.
Oh. Muted.
Mark, your audio is breaking up pretty badly.
Hi, Mark. This is Kyle with the IT department. It may be a good idea to use the call-in number on the WebEx if your headset is not working properly.
I got my head.
We still are having difficulty hearing you. inside the invitation to the meeting will be a call-in phone number that you're welcome to use if you feel like, if you could give that a shot, we may have a better chance of hearing you.
We're waiting for Mark to potentially call in. Let me go over just a couple of other follow-ups that we had from our roundtable discussion from last time, just so we can kind of keep the meeting. Last mobile illuminated signs, which I know happened. There were 2 or 3 of them, I think. Homer, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure that moved the needle a whole lot, but they were definitely noticeable. I certainly passed by them and saw them. Christine, you were going to, I've got a note here that says you were going to schedule a call with NOR and look to distribute flyers to them. Were you able to do that?
I'm sorry, I did not. I will get that done this week.
No problem. Thank you. And then the other note that I had for you, Christine, was the drive-in movie nights, to see if we could get flyers to those.
We could definitely do that. We'll leave it with the Dublin Food Pantry donation site.
Awesome. Super. I think those were the only ones that I had as follow-ups. Amy, I know you're on the call and you always have really good updates because you're just always out there in the community. Do you have anything you want to chime in and throw in there for us?
Actually, I really don't have a whole lot right now. I'm limiting my emails to our distribution group on East Dublin, but when I do send an email, I always put a reminder on there. But I've noticed just in other communities when I've been out and about, I've seen them use their little marquee boards on churches and, like, you know, where you put the letters in.
Yeah.
I've seen them, people put complete your census on various, like, boards throughout other communities. So
yeah, it's not a bad idea. Christine, I wonder if as part of our outreach to some of the communities, maybe we could ask them if they'd be willing to just put on their marquees, like it says like Sunday service at 10, complete the census. I don't know if they'd be willing to or not, but that's actually not a bad idea.
I've seen it. It seems to be that mainly at churches have those little letter boards, but I've seen it at like community centers and schools that have those little.
I feel like not many Dublin buildings have those.
They don't.
I don't think too many do.
They don't. Aren't those called changeable signs, which are not in our code?
Yeah, that might be right.
I think I will check into that. So I'll put that on my list to do. Done. It's on the list.
Thanks for checking in on that.
Yeah.
Mark, were you able to get your audio working?
Yes, I dialed in, so I can hear everyone.
Cool. So Homer's going to reshare his screen. I will mute myself. Mark, go for it.
Screen should be up.
It is.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to give an update regarding the 2020 census. And Homer, next screen, please. So I just want to give you some, and I know you did briefly on this, I want to give you some updates in regards to the response rates. So the city of Dublin is doing fantastic, outstanding, 79.1%. In comparison to Ohio, it's 66.5%. And in comparison to surrounding counties, Delaware, we're above Delaware at 76.5, above Union County at 75.1, and above Franklin County at 62.8. So I wanted to get your concomitant geographies in there and see how you compare. And you can, as you can see, you guys are doing fantastic. Next slide, please. So here are the response rates of Central Ohio cities of comparable size to Dublin, between 35 and 40K. And Dublin's doing well here too, ranked 3rd out of all 7 cities of comparable size. Upper Arlington and Westerville are beating you out slightly. but you're ahead of Gahanna and Grove City, Hilliard, and Reynoldsburg. So fantastic job there. Next slide, please. So again, this is similar to the last meeting we had, best practices to increase response rates, and you guys are doing a lot of this already. Again, we want to target outreach to hard-to-count populations in the lowest responding census tracts, and you guys are doing that. Increasing digital communication, emphasizing more consistent periodic messaging on how to respond. We'll talk a little bit about that a little bit in a few slides later. And also we're going to utilize organizations with large communication platforms, and you're doing that with the city government, school system, churches, large businesses. Next slide, please. So our message now in this response phase of the census is the census is happening right now. Respond now by going to 2020census.gov or call 844-330-2020. So that's the message we want on all of our promotion and our outreach at this point. If you want to have why it's important, that's great. But we want to get people to the website and or the 800 number where they'll assist them in filling out the form. So that's our primary message right now. If you can't fit anything else onto a message, we want that on there. If you can fit more, then you can put other things about why it's important. Next slide, please. So I want to give you a quick COVID-19 update. The goals, according to the Department of Commerce and the Census Bureau, is to protect the health and safety of the American public and Census Bureau employees, and also to implement guidance from federal, state, and local public health authorities regarding COVID-19, and then also to ensure a complete and accurate count of all communities. So that's our goals. Next slide, please. So as you guys are all aware, Franklin County is at a level 3 county risk level, and that's going to affect some of the operations, and I'm going to touch on that now. Union County and Delaware County are at level 2s, which are not affecting any of our operations. Next slide, please. So one of our biggest operations, you've all heard that we hire over 500,000 people to do the census, and the bulk of that is for the non-response follow-up operation. We call it the Census Bureau NARFU, and it starts August 11th through October 31st. And this is where the census takers are following up with the households that did not respond, only the households that did not respond. And census takers will follow public health guidelines when they visit homes, housing units. They are trained to wear a mask and other PPE, and they're to conduct an interview outside of the home in a well-ventilated space when possible. So previously in 2010, you guys might have remembered that they were able to go inside the home, but we're asking our enumerators not to go inside of the home for obvious reasons during this COVID pandemic. So they are not allowed to go inside the homes, even if asked by the residents. So you'll hear about in other locations a soft non-response follow-up launches, and they're beginning as early as next week in other locations. They're certainly not here in Franklin County, and I don't believe they're anywhere in Ohio. But I just wanted to make you aware that they're doing soft launches to get best practices in other locations, and you may hear about that. So that's not happening here in Ohio, and certainly not in Central Ohio. Next slide, please. So when these non-response follow-up census takers, enumerators come to your door, we want you to be able to verify the identity of the local census taker. We want to identify the identity. So one of the ways you can do that at any household resident, you can publicize this number. They can call the Philadelphia Regional Census Center at 267-780-2600. They will be able to verify the name of the census taker. The census taker, next slide, please. So the census taker will have an ID badge with a picture, and it also say the U.S. Department of Commerce watermark and an expiration date. So residents can ask them to show them their badge, and if they're still not safe about it, they can call that number for the Philadelphia Regional Census Center, and they can verify the name of the person on the badge and see if they are actually the census taker. Census Bureau people will be using a census phone. There's pictures of that, and they also have a bag, this bag with a logo on it. They'll have cards that they can put in their car that say special business, frequent stops, and then they'll have door hanger things where they're going to put in information on how to go ahead and fill out the census online. You can still do that during the whole operation. You can still call the 800 number to the whole operation, and if a resident isn't home, they will leave this door hanger with information how to go online or call the 800 number to respond to the census. Next slide, please.
Hey, Mark, but before we move on, I'm going to ask our Director of Communications and Public Information, if she can be prepared, for, the time period with when the non-response follow-up begins, to post something out there so people will be aware of these requirements for people identifying themselves as local census takers.
Homer, this is Christine. Could you also send this to Dublin Police? They like to provide a photograph of that to Radio Room as observant citizens call in, as well as code enforcement.
Sure will.
Thanks.
Okay.
And that's great that you're going to do that. And we also, the national headquarter operations are supposed to inform and call all police departments and law enforcement agencies across the nation. As you can imagine, that's a massive task. But it's good to double that effort with your local contact also. And if you notice, there's not a census badge on here. They don't put the picture of the badge on there, and fear of people copying the badge.
Okay.
Next slide. Okay, so here's another operation that I want to make you guys aware of is our mobile questionnaire assistance operation. And I think I sent out an email to Homer that he forwarded in regards to this operation where I explained it. It is going to be delayed for Franklin County, which we'll talk about in regards to their level 3 status at this point in time. But what this operation is the Census Bureau staff, that means Census Bureau employees, not enumerators, but we call them CRR, Census Response Representatives, will begin to go to communities with the lowest 2020 census response rates to encourage and assist people with responding on their own to the 2020 census. The MQA representatives, which again are called CRRs, will encourage people to respond to the 2020 census in open public places. It is not a door-to-door operation like non-response follow-up. They're going to different locations, which I'll talk about in a minute, and to be distinguished from the going door-to-door or the household enumeration that takes place in non-response follow-up. And then again, we're doing it in the lowest responding areas of the nation. So Dublin has a very good response rate. There may not be any mobile questionnaire assistance operations held in the city of Dublin, but there may. So we just wanted to make you aware of this operation. I don't control it. That's operations. They decide based on the current response rates where they're going to go and send these census response representatives out to. People were encouraged to respond on their own, online or by phone. But also the census response representatives can conduct the interview on their tablets, asking the questions to the residents and complete it on their census tablets. But the census tablets won't be given to responders to do it. They either have to do it on their phone or on their computer, and we can, if they can't do that or they don't have that with them, we can assist them and do the interview right there to get it done. Locations for MQAs will include grocery stores, markets, food banks, laundromats, restaurants, grab-and-go eateries, unemployment offices, and back-to-school drives and places of worship and libraries. Next slide. So the local census response representatives will help people complete the 2020 census on a tablet or on their own device while participating, while practicing state and local social distancing protocols. So they're emphasizing that strongly. We want to keep everybody safe. So if they do conduct the interview in person with a resident, they will remain 6 feet apart. If they can't do that, then they won't conduct it. All census workers have been trained in social distancing protocols and issued personal protective equipment, including masks to be worn during the MQA support. And Census Bureau is selecting where to provide MQAs based on local response rates and conditions. Next slide, please. That's it. So I'm open for any questions you may have.
Yeah, Mark, I just have a couple. So what happens if Franklin County doesn't ever drop below the red designation?
Yeah, that's a question I asked, and they are taking this day by day at headquarters. There is no answer to that at this point in time. So I cannot honestly tell you, and I don't think anybody at headquarters, I don't think those decisions have been made in that regard. So I know we have a good window of opportunity in there between August 11th, when it should begin here in Franklin County, and through October 31st. So there's a good window of time that we can get that done, but I'm not sure what will happen at that point. But that's a very good question, and I'm sorry, I don't think that even headquarters is able to answer that at this point.
Yeah, understood. Also, as the are people allowed to ask the census takers to remove their masks momentarily so that they can look at the ID badge with the picture? Because it can be hard to see someone's face in a mask.
Yes, they are. Yes,
Okay.
They are, and they would obviously within social distancing parameters and would step back, and they were to be able to do that. Very good question.
Super. Thank you. Does anyone else have questions for Mark at this point? Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. And appreciate all the information.
And thank you guys. You guys have done a fantastic job. Keep up the great work. We're almost at the end here, and it's not a time to let up. So we appreciate all the efforts and activities you're doing. In regards to Christine is reaching out to, I think, the churches. There's going to be a faith-based week starting, I think, the week of the 27th of this month. And I'm going to be sending out an activity guide just to give suggestions and ideas on how the faith-based community can encourage and increase the response rate as we approach late summer. So I just want to make you guys aware of that. And I thank you so much for your efforts and your hard work. Your response rate shows the efforts and commitment and the organization you guys have put forward. So thank you.
Awesome. And then we can do a roundtable. If anyone's got any thoughts, suggestions, or ideas, you can go ahead and just with them. Homer, do you want to quit sharing the screen maybe?
I'm sorry, coming down now.
There we go. Now I can see everybody. So any additional thoughts that anyone might have on getting the word out? I think it's great that Todd's PSA is going to go out here shortly, so that's excellent. I think that will be super helpful. We may also consider making sure that that Doug Baker and the schools have the information about identifying the census takers as well, because sometimes people who will just call the schools because that's what they know, so that the schools can then give them, hey, yeah, you can verify with the police, or you can call this number in Philadelphia. They have that they're armed with that information. So
that would certainly help us on our end.
Great.
I will forward this slide set to everybody so that you all have it.
Excellent. Super. That's great. And then Eric, you can forward it on to whomever, Doug or whomever at the schools that you need to, so they have that information. That's great. Because, you know, oftentimes people, they don't distinguish between the city and the schools. And so this way we all have the same info. We're all getting the same stuff out there. Any other thoughts, questions?
Hey, Mark, I just want to make sure that we're okay with sending this slide set out to everybody before I actually send it, right?
Yes, I'm okay with that. But as we approach non-response follow-up, which is August 11th, where it begin here, I will make sure that I get out more amenable, more easy to use updates in regards to that. So there'll be links and there'll be information that more easily viewed instead of a PowerPoint. So I just want to let you guys know that we'll definitely be getting that out ahead of time.
Super. Thanks, Mark.
This is Christine for the good of the group. I just got an email from Kim Yoder at National Church Residences Avondale, which is in the southern quadrant of the city. And she has indicated that she has assisted about 30 residents do them online, but most all of their residents have said they've mailed them in. So she feels like there's great compliance at that facility, and that's that area of concern down there.
Yeah, that's great. Please thank her for the update. Really appreciate it.
I will.
Awesome. All right. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, then we can stand adjourned.
Yeah, Christine, can you?
Yeah, Homer, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Christine, can you say that name again? We were talking about.
Sure. Kim Yoder from National Church Residences at Avondale.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
All right, super. Well, thanks everybody. I hope everybody has a great rest of their week, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.